Hello everyone, it's me Kriti and welcome you again in the series of previous year question paper. Today we will discuss about the previous year question of the physical science, and I have made a detailed PPT regarding the question as much as I can collect. So let's start with the very first slide. Red marks on the question denotes that the question is repeated more than one time in the paper. So let's start with the first slide, and the first question is, what is the nature of physical science? So basically in this question describe the nature of physical science. Okay. Question number 2, describe in briefly the main characteristic of science teacher. Is one of the repeated question in the paper that you have to explain about the quality of science teacher. Okay. Question number 3, what are the difference between aims and objective? It is the common question among all the pedagogy of the paper that they describe the difference between aims and objective of any pedagogy, either science, social science, physical science, English, Hindi or any language paper. Okay. Moving toward the question number 4, that is describe the contribution of Neil Bohr in the field of science. So we have learned about the scientist Neil Bohr in our class 9 or 10. So you have to describe about their contribution in the field of science. Okay. Question number 5, explain the experimental learning method of teaching. So we all know that science is based on the experiments, and here we have to describe how the experiments help in science and how the teaching method, experimental teaching method, helps in teaching science. Okay. Now the extended question is, clarify how learner teacher will design learning experience use this approach. Okay. So basically we have to describe about the practicals knowledge involved in the learning science. Okay. Moving toward the next question, and the question number 6 is, throw light on characteristic of physical science. So here we have to explain about the characteristic of physical science. Okay. Moving toward the question number 7, explain science as process of constructing knowledge. So it is the basic definition of science, that science is defined as the construction of knowledge. Okay. So we have to explain these statement in our own words. Okay. Moving toward the next question, that is write aims of teaching physical science at secondary level. So here we have to explain about the teaching of physical science at the level of secondary. Okay. So how in secondary level we evolve our teaching method so that students are easily able to understand. Okay. Now moving toward the next slide, and the question number 9 is, why do we need the pedagogical shift in physical science? We all know that there is various demand of our learners, and according to their needs and learning, we have to change our teaching method or teaching style. So in this question we have to explain about pedagogical shift in the physical science. Okay. Moving toward the question number 10, that is, how do you think creativity, curiosity and aesthetic scene can be developed in learner? Illustrate with the examples. So in this question we have to explain how the science helps in our creativity, curiosity and aesthetic scenes. Okay. In this illustration you have to explain with better with the examples, how you can give examples about our thinking, how a basic invention lead to the big discovery of the science, how a basic art and craft that lead to the symmetry. So you can also relate with this our daily life. If you demand, I can provide the detailed answer of this question. Okay. Now moving toward the question number 11, that is discuss the role of teachers and learners in constructing knowledge of physical science with examples. So it is the basic must question of any paper, that how role of learners and teachers in constructing knowledge. Okay. So detail prescribed with its detail. Okay. Moving toward the question number 12, that is, how would you encourage learner to collect teaching material from the local resources? And the extended question is, discuss how it can motivate them to learn physical science. So this is the basic needs of teaching science, that we have to explain the teaching of science with our basic daily life examples. That as like you can also relate that everything happens in the nature, there is a reason behind its science. So you can use these context in your answer also. Moving toward the question number 13, that is discuss contribution of following scientists in the field of physical science. One is C.V. Raman, Albert Einstein, and you can also add more like Newton, Isaac Newton. Okay. These three are generally asked in the paper, but if you want to add more, then you can add also Bose. Okay. Moving toward the next slide, and the question number 15 is, describe in details the principle involved in preparation of the curriculum of physical science subject for secondary level of Jharkhand state. So basically you have to explain according to the Jharkhand state and for the secondary level. Okay. Moving toward the question number 16, that what do you mean by lesson plan? First you have to describe the lesson plan, its steps, its criteria, and why do we develop any lesson plan. Okay. Now prepare a lesson plan of physics for the class 10, and further the question number 17 also are the same. You have to explain lesson plan of class 9. So basically you have to prepare a lesson plan of 9 and one lesson plan for class 10. Okay. This subject itself is physical science, so you have to prepare for both the paper, either it is physics or it is chemistry. Okay. Moving toward the next question, and question number 18 is, describe the scope of physical science in detail. So you have to write all the scopes of physical science. in details. Question number 19, discuss briefly contribution of JC Bose in physical science. So it is the important repeated question that you have to describe the major contribution of JC Bose in science. Okay. Moving toward the question number 22, describe the correlation of science with other subject of science and mathematics. So we know that science is connected with other subject also. We read in our earlier classes, or we have read in our earlier semesters also, that science is correlated with other subjects. It is original. If in general we can see that science and maths are are complementary to each other, so it is the basic that science and maths are correlated, but science is also correlated with the other subject also, such as social science, sociology, psychology. These are all also based on the learnings of the science. Okay. Moving toward the question number 21, that is define learning. Describe the role of learner involving in teaching learning process. So we have to define first learning, and later the role of learner in the teaching learning process. Okay. Moving toward the next slide, and the question number 22 is collaborative learning approach in reference with the physical science. So collaborative learning approach is one of the important techniques in the physical science. So you must have to read about this technique. Okay. Question number 23, how will you evaluate the textbook of science? So here the important term in this question is textbook. So you have to define textbook in the reference of science. Okay. Question number 24, what do you mean by scientific method of learning? Discuss various steps of scientific method of learning. So in physical science, there is the one of the important method of teaching and learning is scientific method. So you have to explain about this method. Question number 25, what are the objectives of science curriculum? What activities are required to achieve these objectives? So we have to explain about the objectives of science curriculum and the activities that are required for the achievement of those objectives. Okay. Question number 26, describe the need and importance of laboratories in teaching physical science. We have all experienced the need of laboratories in our class 10, 12. So write in your own words that the importance of laboratories, practicals in the science. Okay. 27, what are the main contribution of Sir Isaac Newton in field of science? Must question in the paper, Sir Isaac Newton main contribution. Okay. Moving toward the next slide, and the question number 28 is, the study of science as a compulsory subject is useful. Justify the statement. So it is also, you can connect this question with the previous question that science is related with the other subject also. So you can also relate that answer in this question also. Justify the science study of science as compulsory subject is useful. Okay. Question number 29, what qualities can be nurtured in learners to develop scientific attitude in them? Explain with proper examples. So we all know that science help them in the development of scientific attitude. So we have to explain in these. Toward the question number 30, that is list any two discoveries of physical science. Discuss tentative nature of theories behind the discoveries. So we have to mention any two discoveries of physical science. Either you remember any one of them, that is gravitation, law of motion, force, image formation, optics, either anyone, electricity, whatever you remember, just write off them. Okay. I must recommend that if you write any of the invention or theories, write the name of the scientist behind them. Okay. Moving toward the question number 31, that is discuss feature of learner center curriculum in the physical science. It is the must question in any pedagogy that you have to be in learner center. So how learner center, you have to explain learner center, features of learner center in the pedagogy. Okay. Toward the question number 32, what is the utility of textbook of NCERT and a state textbook at a standard level? Okay. So basically in this question is utility or characteristic of textbook or objectives of textbook, whatever you can say. Okay. Toward the next slide, and the slide is throw light of physical science at secondary level. So explain the definition of physical science. Question number 34, describe the some method of physical science teaching. So you have to write any of the methods such as observation method, explanation method, lecture method, whatever scientific method, anyone. Okay. Question number 35, explain how physical science teaching is correlated with other subjects, same as the earlier previous question. Question number 36, explain the importance of textbook of physical science, same question. Okay. Okay, that's all. I think these are the enough question for you to connect with your semester. Okay, that's all by my side. This is Kriti and thank you for watching.